Hey everybody, this is a clip from the latest episode of the Randi Rhodes Show. If you want the full episode, you can watch live on Free Speech TV, Dish Channel 9415, DirecTV 348, Sling, Roku, and Apple TV.
Mary had a little man.
The fault. We believe that all men are created equal.
To the magnificent mosaic that is America.
From radio beacon to radio beacon. I have a dream today. Change has come to America.
Believe it.
Knock, knock.
First are the facts, where 8 Americans are dying of drug overdose every hour. This is a plague, and it's so bad that it's actually reduced our nation's life expectancy for the last 3 years. Drug overdoses and suicides have overtaken vehicle deaths as causes of death in America. Now, the federal government was complicit in enabling this opiate epidemic because the government stood by while Purdue Pharma dispensed hundreds of thousands of OxyContin prescriptions as a non-addictive wonder drug, and now we're all grappling with the after effects. So when I was in Iowa campaigning, a high school senior came up to me and he said, there are high school seniors in my school that have fentanyl patches and are addicted to opiates, and how can we get them treatment when they're afraid they're going to get sent to jail if they step up and say, I have a problem? And so when I saw this, I said, wow, we have to do more to help get treatment into the hands of that teenager's classmates. And I looked into international examples. There have been countries, including Portugal, that have decriminalized opiate use for personal use. And the way they make that distinction is they say, if you have more than a week's supply of personal use, then we may treat you as a dealer or supplier or someone who's actually engaged in a criminal enterprise, and then it's illegal. But if we just catch you with a quantity that suggests that you are just using it personally, then instead of referring you to a jail cell, we refer you to treatment. And that is what we need to do right here in the United States.
So you want to decriminalize small amounts of opioid use and possession. Does that include heroin?
Yes, it does. We need to decriminalize opiates for personal use. And as you might not be surprised to hear from that, like I'm also for the legalization of cannabis. We need to remove that from the federal controlled substance.
So cannabis and opioids, including heroin. Any other illegal drugs you want to decriminalize?
It would be the opiates that are the most common, which unfortunately right now include heroin and fentanyl.
What about cocaine?
Cocaine it would not be on the list of substances I would engage in this because of the addiction has very different features.
So Andrew Yang was asked about the opioid epidemic, and he knows how many people we're losing every single day. And the idea that we treat people who are addicted because they started with pills that were legally given to them by their doctors who were called. I mean, you know, when you read this opioid story about what happened with Johnson&Johnson in Oklahoma, and you read that they made 150,000 visits to doctors to tell doctors to go ahead and prescribe this off-label because, you know, these fentanyl patches and oxycodone and roxycodone and all these derivatives that, and the thing is Johnson&Johnson has its own little secret growing field. It grows its own special poppies in Tasmania, which is a little island south of Australia. And it supplies, all of the pharmaceutical companies with 60% of the poppies, of the opium from the poppies, in order to make these pills and patches, these fentanyl patches. Janssen Pharmaceuticals is a subsidiary of Johnson&Johnson, and they literally grow a special kind of poppy. They have names. Some of them are called Ted. Seriously, they give them, like people names for the kind of poppies and the kind that goes into these fentanyl patches. And 60% of all the material, the raw material, is provided by Johnson&Johnson. So you're going to hear people say, well, that it was bogus in Oklahoma because Johnson&Johnson only supplied 1% of the oxycodone, and it was really another. It doesn't matter. It all starts in the poppy fields. Okay, and you think about how Afghanistan has a poppy-based economy, right? And but what they do is illegal. But what Johnson&Johnson does in Tasmania is completely legal. And then you get addicted by completely legal prescription drugs, completely legal. And then you can't get another prescription, or you can't afford your prescription, and you start buying Roxy's or Oxy's or whatever, or fentanyl patches, God forbid, on the black market. And now you're treated as a criminal, and you have to go to prison instead of going to treatment. And we all know in prison there's a black market inside too, with these corrupt officers. And, something weird happened with Jeffrey Epstein, right? At least here in Palm Beach when he was in our lockup. I mean, you had like 80 different officers that left his cell door open. You had officers that were escorting him out of his jail cell every single day for 13 months. So I guess, there's workarounds for being in a prison situation if you got to get yourself another fix of 14-year-olds, and I would assume it's the same for drugs. Just saying. So you've got people that get this on our side.
If someone came to you who loves you and said, I know I got a problem, they have a less than 1 in 6 chance of getting the medical help that they need. Why? Not because we don't know what to do, but because right now we won't make the investment to help them. Not enough beds, not enough doctors, not enough rehab centers. So my plan with Congressman Cummings is over the next 10 years, we're going to put $100 billion, I've already got this paid for, $100 billion in to hit this opioid crisis head on and bring it to its knees. We got to save the people we love.
Okay, so now here you have another proposal. Okay, you got Andrew Yang saying make it legal so at least people don't go to prison, they go to treatment. Okay, and then you have the cost of it going to treatment, right? You got the Trump administration in the courts right now arguing to do away with the ACA, which would cover, the help that people need, Medicaid also, the help that people need when they admit that they have a problem and they're sick and tired of being sick and tired. They've either hit rock bottom or they're near rock bottom or they're just plain tired of it, and they understand that they have an issue and they're brave enough and tough enough to deal with it and to tell somebody, I need help, I want help, which has got to be like so freaking frightening, okay? Because I'm addicted to cigarettes. And I know what it is to be addicted to something that you know is bad for you, and not having it in your power, your own personal power, to just say, oh, I'll just walk away. I get it. So you have and she's talking about $100 billion is what's necessary. Well, think about Oklahoma, just one state. They said they needed $17 billion to devote to rehabilitation and help and, detox and all the other ancillary needs of people who, through no fault of their own, were told, go ahead and take this medication. It's safe. It's non-addictive. You'll be fine. 17 billion, Oklahoma alone. The United States, $100 billion. And what was Johnson&Johnson hit with? $572 million. And Donald Trump standing there and telling the people at the AmVets the other day, oh, we have a miracle drug, comes from Johnson&Johnson. It's safe. You can use it. It's going to save your life if you're suicidal. And guess what? The 3 people that are running his VA are just as corrupt and swampy as he is. Okay, they're running it out of Mar-a-Lago, but the VA, the formulary committee says this is not a safe drug. This is a deadly drug. They had a clinical trial. In the clinical trial, 3 people went ahead and committed suicide while they were using this fentanyl, ketamine. 3 died by suicide. 3 others just died. And the control group that took placebos, no one died. This is not a safe drug. We will not be buying this. We will not be putting in our pharmacies. But it's Johnson&Johnson, and they make baby powder. You know what I mean? So we have a very corrupt government right now. We have a corrupt system. It's all about quid pro quos, making money. It is a swampy thing. It is swampier than it's ever been. The fact that the VA is being run by 3 business guys in Palm Beach is sick.
To the magnificent magnificent mosaic that is America.
Radio Beacon, true